to the club. Okay, aloha, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Today we have another voice of the community, Dr. Cherilyn Inouye, principal of Kaelepulu Elementary School in Oahu, and here to share with us her insights from the schooling system. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thanks for having me, Sharon.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world for reopening, thoughts, just what's happening?
So I think like most states, Hawaii has shut down our campuses. So students aren't coming to school like they normally would for face-to-face instruction. And we're basically having to do everything online. So our students never got to come back for fourth quarter. Basically spring break, right before spring break was the last time we saw them in person. And during spring break was when our school system in Hawaii shut down all the campuses. There were stay-at-home orders issued by both the county and the state government. So we've still been very much in business. We're open for educational experiences, but the way that we're engaging with our students is very different. We're having to do video conferences, video chatting with students. Some teachers call their students on the phone, email, and using platforms like Google Classroom to engage with students. So it's changed a lot since before spring break. And it's going okay. You know, we're doing the best that we can. Our teachers are really doing the best that they can. And I think our students and parents have been open to participating in any way that they can.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I've had an interesting perspective because, of course, I have a 3- and a 6-year-old, and then my sister is becoming a teacher, and then knowing you and hearing some of the thoughts that you shared with me, you shared a great perspective on just not taking myself too seriously, trying to be a stay-at-home teacher and parent and do work as well. So would you mind sharing what you talked to me about and talk me off the ledge with?
Sure. I think for adults, this is a scary time. And so I think it's even harder on our kids. And so I told our teachers and our staff that the number one thing that I was concerned about was our students' social and emotional well-being, and that families were okay dealing with this huge, unprecedented situation that we really didn't think was gonna hit us this way and hit us this hard. And so we've been trying to just connect with students to make sure that they're okay. I know our teachers have even talked to parents. I've talked to parents just to make sure, are you okay? And I wanted to take that expectation off of parents' shoulders that they had to now become their child's teachers. So I early on emailed all the families and said, it is not our expectation that you homeschool your child because you haven't been trained to do that, right? Unless you yourself are a teacher. And on top of not having that experience, the training to be a teacher, there's a whole list of other factors that are very diverse for families, right? So you might have a family where both parents are essential workers, like in my situation. My husband and I are both essential workers, so we're still working. You might have a situation where, 1 or 2 parents in the home have lost their job, or if they're a single parent, they lost their job, they're unemployed. And so to expect all families to be able to create this homeschool experience for their child, I think is unreasonable. And I think now's the time where we can just have grace for one another, have patience, empathy, and compassion, and just try to make sure that everybody's okay. And anything that you can do for your child to just make them feel loved and safe, I think is the most that we can try to strive for.
Great. Thank you so much. And grace for the people who know people who are parents, right, as well.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Thank you. So that leads us into our high 5 questions, or the 5 questions we've been asking all of our community leaders. And the first one is, how will this renorm or new normal change the way you do business at school?
I think for us, it forced us in a good way to get up to speed with the technology pretty quickly. We got all our teachers on Google Classroom. We had to figure out which platforms in terms of video conferencing were going to work for us. So I have some teachers using WebEx, which was one of our school districts approved platforms. Some teachers are using Google Meets. I know a lot of teachers at first were using Zoom, but if you don't have like the paid account, right, there's security issues with that. So we kind of had to navigate through that and try out different things, test different technologies. But now that we're kind of set up, this is really great because now I know if it was to happen again, our staff has the capacity to do this blended approach. So we can do online learning, distance learning. We know they can do face-to-face. So that just builds our teachers' repertoire and their capacity and skill set. And I think it offers an alternative for the future in terms of schooling. If you have a child that gets really sick, if they're homebound, if we have more remote locations, as long as we can get them online, I think it allows us to still continue to provide that educational experience for students. And in many ways, it builds different relationships because in a video conference where you have all the kids on screen, if you prompt them and each student has to respond, you are listening to every single child respond, where sometimes in the classroom you might not even get that because there's so many other things happening. So there's some benefits, I think, to this shift that we've had to make. We're definitely learning a lot, that's for sure.
That's great. Yes, I've noticed in some of the meetings where if you mute all, right, so now the teacher doesn't have to talk over the kids, just has to hit mute all and then teach and unmute. So could be something fun. All right. Well, what advice do you have for the Hawaii Spa, Hospitality, and Wellness members as they plan to reopen their businesses?
I think definitely, and I know all industries are thinking about the health and safety of their employees first, right? As well as their customers. So I think being mindful of that and taking extra precautions and also just being empathetic to different people's situations. So whether your employees might have an underlying health condition that they may not have disclosed previously. Like someone might be diabetic, which you typically can't tell if someone's diabetic just by looking at them. To being empathetic and trying to find ways that they can still work, but also be safe and take care of their health. And also, how do we support our families where childcare is still not an option? So I know that our community organizations here in Hawaii are stepping up, and it is so wonderful. Our local YMCA is providing childcare with financial aid to our essential workers, and they're implementing social distancing while the kids are at the childcare. So I think if we can support all our families and our employees as best as possible, there's ways we can make sure things are a little bit safer, especially in the spa and wellness industry, right? You have people that might be in close proximity. So kind of rethinking your space, rethinking your schedules, and how do we still provide that opportunity for people who absolutely need some self-care to get that self-care, but in a safe and healthy way. So probably just stepping back from what we're used to and having an open mind and really thinking about things in a different way, really looking at your space. We're doing it with our classrooms. How do we implement social distancing in a classroom of where we usually have 25 students, where maybe we have to have 10 at a time? We have to rethink our space and how we use that space. And it's very possible. It's definitely making us think outside the box and think creatively.
Absolutely. Yes, what I heard you say and resound was the adaptability that we need to have for all the things that are coming that are new and different. But really, I think this time has taught us to look at things from alternate perspectives. And so that's a skill that now we have that we can use going forward, right? great. Thank you. So Aloha Spirit, tell me what to you in this new normal, as we reemerge, what is important to us in maintaining with Aloha Spirit going into the future?
So I think Aloha is really about selflessness. I think it's about having compassion for others. And I think the selflessness piece comes in when we think about community health and safety first, our most vulnerable populations. And it's a tough situation because we want everybody to go back to work so that they can support their family. And so part of that means that we have to allow parts of our society to open up for business. But maybe we have to rethink how that business takes place. And it can't just be we open up the way we were before and then put people's health at risk. So to me, Aloha is about really taking those alternate perspectives, thinking about the health and safety of others, and not putting our own freedom over that. So demanding things reopen and I don't have to wear a mask or whatever. I don't think that's what Aloha is about. I think Aloha is sacrificing those freedoms for myself and giving a little bit more. So does it mean that I pay a little bit more for my food to have it delivered to my house rather than going out and sitting in a restaurant? I'm okay with that because I can afford it because I'm still working. So those of us that are privileged to still work, I think we have to bite the bullet a little bit more. And does it mean that I can't have a party? Probably. And does it mean that I never can have a party? No, but I just have to be a little bit patient. And so those kinds of things, that's how I think we can share our Aloha with others and just be thinking about the health and safety of our community rather than just worrying about what am I giving up or what am I having to sacrifice. But it's not about me right now. It's about us. It's about we.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, when you say that Aloha means community, I think that's so important as we move forward. I'm starting to hear a shift in strategy of reopening, not just in timelines of which businesses should open first and then next, but how in the opening we're looking at diverse populations and understanding that certain restrictions or additional precautions or support will be needed for certain populations like the elderly, the immune compromised, things like that. So it's not just a timing piece, but a strategy piece. And to your point, responsibility that we have to be conscious about what we can do and how we can serve as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So shifting into a more personal note, what is one lesson or one of the biggest lessons that you've learned, Dr. Cherilyn, for this period of staying at home?
I don't know if I can pick one lesson. We've learned many lessons. I think maybe one of the biggest lessons that we should all take away is this notion that working from home is easy. This is not my first time that I've had to work from home. I've had other jobs where I've had to work from home before, but this is definitely the first time I've had to work from home with a child. So my daughter's 3, and it was tough at first to adjust because both my husband and I had to work from home, and we had to balance schedules, figuring out, okay, who can attend to our daughter and, you know, engage with her and play with her and make sure that she has the attention from a parent, and then having to swap, okay, Tag, you're it now. And then, you know, the other person can work. And it's been tough. But I think what we've learned is that if we communicate and we make sure that it's not about the amount of time that we work per se, and not about the amount of time that we spend with our kid, but in that time that you are fully attentive to one task, are you engaging fully in that task? So when I'm with my daughter, can I turn everything else in my head off and just focus on her? Because there's really no such thing as multitasking. Maybe that's my biggest takeaway. There's no such thing as multitasking. And if I want to engage in work, I have to have like focus on that. And if I want to spend time with my daughter, I really have to focus on her and not try to do both at the same time. And it's been tough, but we've managed to work that through. And I know that there's families that are still struggling with that. So I really feel for the families that have to go through that. But that would be my maybe takeaway for folks is don't try to do everything at once, and don't try to be super uber productive. I don't think you can be. Just try to do one thing at a time and focus on that. And spend some quality time with your family. That's been really nice for us. We've been mindful of that, and when we say, okay, it's time to take a break, let's go for a walk outside, we drop everything and we just go.
Great. Mindfulness, very, very important. Well, that sort of leads into the last question, but and a difficult one, because for you and your husband being essential workers, I know balance is always a bit tricky anyway, but you maintained your health and wellness during this time?
I am not where I want to be yet with my health and wellness. But what I have tried to do is just things like shifting at work from just sitting down all day, taking breaks, going for a walk, and then moving to a standing desk when I can. So if I feel like I've been sitting for a long time, just trying to stand, doing stretches in between, taking some deep breaths when I need to. And then when I have time, I try to do a workout at home. We go for walks. That is one thing we're committed to, that pretty much every day, maybe not every single day 100%, but like 95%. Every day we go for at least one walk, just in the neighborhood. With my daughter, and we've encouraged my parents who live across the street to come with us, and it's actually been very good for them too, because otherwise it's so easy to just get stuck at home. And then in terms of eating, we've tried to cook a little bit more, and I just purchased a CSA box from a farmer who's a friend of mine, and so I think trying to incorporate more fresh food, and then also supporting our local farmers. We're doing our best. By no means are we an exemplar. I know other people that are like, I see them out there running and I'm like, I should be running too. But trying to just have grace for myself and say, okay, well, I did take a walk, and I got some fresh air. I took some deep breaths at work, and okay, that's good enough for now.
That's great. Mindfulness and breath and grace. Those are some really important health and wellness tenets to hold by. So, well, thank you so much, Dr. Cherilyn, for your time, for your service, keeping all of us a little bit less stressed by giving us all the support that we need. And I think just a great message that, our teachers are working really hard to give us as much as they can, and that it's strong and that it's consistent, and that, if we need help, we can reach out. And you guys have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that you've already tried, tested, and have learned. So we really appreciate all of that as well.
Our teachers all deserve massages when everything reopens. They've been working super hard. But parents too. I think parents need that too. Parents have been working really hard. I think the workers, for sure.
Wellness is definitely going to be there. And so how we create that comfortable, safe environment to welcome everyone back and celebrate, yes, our essential workers, workers, definitely, I think, an important piece of it. Thank you so much for your time, and keep doing what you're doing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aloha.